The pulp fantasy world of Hyperborea and the accompanying game system has really been a lot of fun to explore over the last 3 years, and during my campaign I've had the opportunity to run quite a few of the published modules from Northwind Adventures, and I've also released quite a few videos reviewing Hyperborea and the said adventures. Still, I've had some requests by subscribers to rate and rank the modules I've enjoyed, and so this video is just that, my top 5 favorite Hyperborea adventures, coming right up on RPG Retro Reviews. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Courageous, and I review old school modules and games and try to give them a fun and informative analysis. This week I'm going to count down my top 5 favorite modules from the Hyperborea game setting and RPG. If you enjoy this content, please give it a like, comment, share, and why not go ahead and subscribe while you're at it. It really helps out with YouTube's algorithm. And big note here is that to qualify for this list, the modules must be adventures I've actually run with my group or at a gaming convention. Also, before I begin, a big shout out to Mr. Welch's channel. Mr. Welch is well known for his love of the Mystara fantasy setting, and right now on his channel he's got a 50 D&D favorites module collaboration with D&D YouTubers from all eras, where we talk up our favorite modules from the OSR to modern D&D, which is sure to be a lot of fun, and hey, yours truly is very happy to be a part of. Thanks, Glenn. Alright, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with number 5, Forgotten Feain of the Coil Goddess. Forgotten Feain of the Coil Goddess, written by Joseph D. Salvatore, isn't just an adventure module, but is part campaign supplement as well, as it goes into some detail on the Lemurian Remnant, a section of the world of Hyperborea. One of the neat things about many of the modules from this game system is that they tend to have a lot of setting information for the areas explored within, making them extremely conducive to long-term campaign play. If you are familiar with the classic Dungeons & Dragons module, the Isle of Dread, this adventure shares many similarities in both structure and tone, and Salvatore's fondness for that classic adventure is quite evident here. There are a variety of story seeds that might lead the characters to come to the Island of the Serpent, where they can begin its exploration. And that can lead to any number of adventures, depending on the whims of the players and the referee's imagination. There is an island hex map and a blank player's map so that the players can document what they find as they explore. There are wandering monsters of all types, including dinosaurs, giant snakes, and insects, and a variety of traps and hazards that have been set by the island's monkey men inhabitants. Of course, ultimately, this leads to a mysterious stepped pyramid. Here, the players can discover a cult of the Serpent Men, strange lost technology, and of course, the horrid thing lurking within the depths of the pyramid that said serpentine cult is worshipping. And that assures that this will be an exciting adventure your players will talk about long after its conclusion. Number 4, The Beasts of Craigoth Manor. One of the things I really appreciate about modules from Northwind Adventures is the world building that every module does. If you're playing the game or you're the referee, then certainly this kind of flavor really enhances your gaming experience and further immerses you in the setting. Beasts of Craigoth Manor does a lot of heavy lifting in that regards here. Hyperborea has a default starting setting, then one would have to say that it is the city of Cromarium and the Lug Wasteland just to the north. This adventure is essentially Hyperborea's idea of a haunted house adventure and takes full advantage of the pulp fantasy concepts of the setting. The opening text speaks of pre-Green Death treasures, rumors from drunken wanderers the adventurers have heard, and their desire to seek ancient tombs filled with Atlantean artifacts, strange villages built atop sacred Hyperborean burial grounds, and deep caves filled with treasure of all sorts. The adventure locale itself details the various points of interest of but a single hex on the Hyperborean main map. Here they can find a troll cave with all sorts of dangerous beasties within. There's also a ruined temple and a cursed monolith, but of course the centerpiece of the adventure is an ancient manor atop a humble plateau of dirt and stone, crumbling and in ruins but showing signs of recent activity. There is a detailed timeline of events explaining the manor's strange history and a bevy of interesting NPCs, including another well-equipped adventuring party and Lovecraftian mysteries that present a variety of unique challenges for the players. This adventure will take several game sessions to complete, and of course, much of what's here can be used again for future adventures. This is for character levels 4 through 6. Number 3, The Sea Wolf's Daughter. This module turned out to be a hit with my players. On several key points, it expertly subverts player expectations and takes them on a path that none of them could have imagined when the adventure begins. While not required, I highly recommend that if you wish to run this adventure, that you also run the Late Trapper's Lament beforehand. In the Late Trapper's Lament, the Sea Wolf, a powerful Viking Jarl Ragnar, and his island of Ragnarheim is fully detailed, though they are completely background characters and setting for the actual adventure. I reviewed this adventure in detail a year ago, so you might wish to check that out. But you can slightly introduce the Jarl and his daughter Gunhild as minor characters, and the players may have an opportunity to interact with them. This is a first level starting type adventure, so is a great way to begin a campaign. The Sea Wolf's Daughter, conversely, is for character levels 7 through 9, so a significant amount of time can pass before you come to it, giving the player characters time to establish themselves and catch the eye of Ragnar, who will seek them out to help rescue his daughter, who has been kidnapped by an evil rival Viking Jarl, Bjorn Blackbeard, who seeks to make the beautiful shield maiden his bride. Of course, Gunhild is no damsel in distress, and by the time the PCs infiltrate Blackbeard's stronghold, the wily shield maiden will have made good her escape. Tracking her down isn't that hard for an alert group of players, but she does not plan on returning with them to her father's side. Instead, she has a quest of her own to complete, tracking down the evil demon creatures that were responsible for her mother's death when she was a very young girl. Of course, she does offer to allow the heroes to join her if they wish. So either the PCs force the determined woman to come back with them, no easy feat to be sure, return to Ragnar empty-handed, or join Gunhild on her quest, which is obviously the more fun option. And that ultimately leads to a totally unexpected magical teleportation to the rim of the world and the towering fortress of blackened steel, and the source of the evil creatures. And who's responsible will also be completely unexpected. Here, the module wonderfully goes totally off the rails and delves deeply into the weird sci-fi aspects of Hyperborea as only it can. This will have the players happily scratching their heads as the mysteries of the tower slowly reveal themselves. Number 2, The Mystery at Port Gley. The second to the last entry on the list is Mystery at Port Gley, a homage to H.P. Lovecraft's Shadow over Innsmouth. This corrupted town has many surprises to reveal and mysteries to be uncovered, all while trying not to fall victim to the esoteric order of Mother Hydra, which is the dominant religion of the town. In short order, it will be obvious that inhabitants of this place are just a bit peculiar. With Mystery at Port Gley, you're going to get a decent description of the town and a hint at an overarching story about what may be happening at other port towns all across Hyperborea. The player characters become involved in the adventure when they are hired by the Cremarium Fishmongers Guild to locate their missing guild members who have been missing for about 2 weeks. Until about 3 years ago, Port Greeley was a prolific exporter of crustaceans. The guild had sent members to the town in hopes of renewing that profitable relationship. The adventurers make passage on the Andromeda, an Amazon-style coaster ship. The captain and crew are amiable, but they aren't taking any risks. They drop the players off at Port Greeley and leave, with orders to pick the characters back up in a week's time. Arrival at Port Greeley will not set the minds of the heroes at ease. It is a ramshackle town with many businesses boarded up and no longer in use. The town of over 1,000 residents seems deserted, though the arrival of fishermen with a catch of lobster can be observed and a bit disconcerting. Confrontation with the residents of the town is inevitable, and the true source of the evil that is corrupting the residents will probably come as a surprise to the players, especially those familiar with H.P. Lovecraft's original story. This is for characters levels 6 to 9 and will probably take about 3 game sessions to complete. Before I get to my number 1 pick, a few honorable mentions. Charnel Crypt of the Sightless Serpent, one of the earliest Hyperborea modules, is a great dungeon crawler with a challenging final boss. And of course, the Late Trapper's Lament that I mentioned earlier is a fun little excursion to a Viking island with lots of world building, and a complete Viking village is detailed, and an excellent precursor to the outstanding Seawolf's Daughter adventure. Alright, my number 1 Hyperborean pick has to be Rats in the Walls. I've run this module multiple times at this point, at a variety of gaming conventions as well as for my gaming group, and each time I've run it, the response from the players has been overwhelmingly positive. Now, while this adventure series is a great introduction to the Hyperborean setting and the OSR in general, the rules here are absolutely old school, so you could run this with Advanced D&D, 1st or 2nd edition, or any OSR clone like Old School Essentials or Osric. The 3 adventures presented here all take place in the Hyperborean city of Cremarium, though any metropolitan port fantasy city will do. The action here primarily takes place in a tavern called the Silvery Eel, a portside tavern that will be obvious to any adventurer newly arriving via ship to the city. Something is wrong with the tavern will become quickly apparent, as the place, despite its premier location, is unusually quiet, even though the service is good and the food and drink top-notch. The proprietor, a man named Zill, looks stressed, and his daughter, Anesta, peeks creepily from the kitchen doorway, and she looks sickly and malnourished. It takes very little prompting for the distressed Zill to break down and admit he has serious problems. "Everything is perfectly fine here," he says with a taunt smile, but then sighs and slumps his shoulders and continues, "Alas, I cannot lie. I'm afraid something is dreadfully wrong here at the Silver Eel." And thus begins a very exciting adventure that starts as a strange mystery to be uncovered about a simple rat infestation, then evolves into a creepy dungeon crawler that invokes the cult and history of the Hyperborean setting, and ends with a horrific and exciting boss battle. But my friends, that is not all this module has to offer. The second adventure here, the Lamia's Heart, continues the exploration of Cremarium's mysterious docks, and leads to a renegade thieves guild, and an offer from its guildmaster to acquire a rare artifact, the titular item in the adventure's title. But as is typical for these sorts of things, everything is not as it seems. Finally, there is the Brazen Bull. As the characters venture further into the city, they mingle with its lowlifes, lotus chewers, and reprobates. The city's storied history leads to yet another strange delve beneath the streets of the city. Here, the adventurers can uncover an evil cult and a cursed torture device of horrific power. Not too bad for 46 pages. Did I mention the artwork and production values are outstanding? I've really only scratched the surface here, but definitely a lot of bang for your buck in this module, showcasing the very best the OSR and Northwind Adventures has to offer. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this review of my top 5 favorite Hyperborean modules interesting and fun. Coming up, I'll be revisiting Castles and Crusades. Stephen Chanel has been very kind to send me all the newly reforged core books, and wow, are you in for a treat. Also, Matt Finch from Mythmere Games let me know it's time to update Osric with the common gaming license as well. And this is going to be the best release of that game yet. We are living in the best time for OSR games, my friends. I'd like to thank all my patrons who continue to support the channel month after month. Thank you so much. Please give this video a like, comment, and share. Please check out my Teespring store for great gaming swag, t-shirts, carry bags, coffee cups, and more. Join the channel's Facebook page, RPG Retro Reviews. Consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron yourself, or alternatively, you can just send a tip through the PayPal tip jar. A link is in the description. And as always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.